Aloha warriors, today is a good day for coffee and for learning about coffee. I had 1.5 iced lattes today. I don't have any decaf, so I wasn't planning on having any tonight because I have a flight tomorrow, so I need to wake up on time. Thank you to Matryoshka for bringing the deadline of the auditions to my awareness, because the Reddit post where I originally saw it from Grandmaster Burrito says that the deadline to apply is July 16th, which is, what, a week from now? So that, it seems to be the post by the creator, Anna Milky, so not quite sure what the deal is with that. Hopefully if I reach out to him, I can still do it, because I wanted to, and was just trying to finalize, get everything prepared. Yes, 8 days from now, so hopefully that was just a mistake. So yes, those of you who don't like coffee, that's alright. I think the history of coffee is still quite interesting. There was some that I didn't know, although I have Googled this before, because I'm very interested in the history of different food products and how they've spread about the world. So, even if you don't drink coffee, I think it's quite interesting if you enjoy history or just listening to the tale of the spread of coffee and how it took over. And, so yes. And if you don't like coffee, perhaps have a frappuccino that has no coffee in it. Like the cookies and cream one. Probably doesn't have coffee unless you request it. Alright, personally, I like coffee. My parents always drank a lot of coffee, and so that kind of indoctrinated me. I grew up enjoying the smell, and my mother would give me some milk with a drop of coffee in it, and as soon as I was old enough to drink it, I did so. And there are other coffee alternatives. I've seen that mud water and mushroom coffee. No thanks to that for me, but if you're interested, certainly. Alright, I was going to review the schedule, but that doesn't really make sense because today is my last day before going out of town. However, I will return on Sunday. Haven't decided what we'll do that day, but Sunday, 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, we'll do something, won't we? We'll figure it out. So, that's the plan. And then, so the next stream will be July 13th. And, at the end of stream, we'll have a special sneak peek of Monday's video. And I'm still not quite sure where I'm taking this show. It's more of a general idea at this point. I have a script, a draft, but I might throw it out and start over. We'll see. Certainly open to feedback and, suggestions. Alright. Hand of the Dead Man, are you, autistic or ADHD? Because that's what I've heard. Coffee doesn't energize me either. I've tried repeatedly. Like before class, I would get a 3-shot, latte, and it would make no difference. So yes, I am not energized by coffee either. At first I assumed it was because of the association. I thought perhaps I associate coffee with comfort. And then I read about other people having the same problem and realized that's probably it. So, kind of a bummer, because I really could use something to energize me. Oh well. Alright, let's start with the origins of coffee. So first, the mythical or legendary origins. The big myth that everyone knows, I think, or is commonly known, is set in Ethiopia, the myth of Kaldi. So Kaldi was a goat herder in perhaps approximately 800 AD. Kaldi noticed that when the goats ate these berries from a tree, forest tree, they were full of energy and they danced and they didn't want to sleep at night. So he tried eating some too and found that he too danced with energy. So in one version of this story, he reported this to the local monastery, and the monks made a drink of it and found that it kept them awake for their evening long prayers. So clearly they didn't have ADHD because it worked for them. In another version, it said that the monks said the berries were evil or bad, so they threw them in the fire, but then noticed the enticing aroma of the roasting berries, or beans, so they scooped them out of the fire, ground them up, and made them into a drink, which they found energized them. There's other legends, but they are all similar story, where people noticed they were energizing, so they ate them. Some, I think, another myth suggests they saw birds eating them. They're all similar story, though, where they were like, hey, looks like this is energy water. The word coffee coffee comes from the Arabic kawa, which then there's the Ottoman Turkish kahve, and then the Dutch word coffee is how it's spread to the English language. It's spread from the Dutch to the English, and our word is basically the same but with different spelling. So this was in 1582 when it spread to the English language in Europe. You might have also seen it called buna or boon or bun or booni, depending on the language, and this is believed to have all originated from the Arabic word bun, referring to the bean itself, or perhaps from a Cushitic word similar. And I have seen there's an African roasting cafe where it calls it bun, which was the first I'd ever heard of that word, and I thought it was quite interesting. So I understand that kawa refers to the drink, whereas bun refers to the bean or berry itself. No trill if I didn't have time, but I will touch on different types of coffees. So here's a beautiful picture of some coffee beans. Look at how they grow in a bunch on the branch. So these must be, yes, someone commented the Arabica. Then there's these ones. Look at the way they hang. Isn't that interesting? They're quite beautiful. And here's the trees. I'm wondering if this is as tall as they get, because they seem quite small. I couldn't find larger pictures, not in the time I had. And then this is a bit blurry, I'm sorry, but did you know that coffee plants, they flower? Which I guess makes sense. Anything that bears a fruit has a flower, right? But I'd never imagined it. So look at how beautiful these coffee flowers are. They kind of look like star magnolia. So quite beautiful. Coffee beans are brown after they are roasted, Shaquille. But when they're on the plant, they're beautiful red color when ripe. And then here's this cute little picture. I just liked this. I love infographics. I would have just a house full of infographics if I could. So you can see Kaldi and the goats and Ethiopia and then spreading throughout the world. Here's a reference down here, the Indonesian civet coffee, where the beans, everyone familiar with this, it's where the beans are ingested by a palm civet, which is an animal, and then it poops it out, and, I'm sorry, it's excreted, fancy, and then it's roasted and eaten, and apparently that gives it a good flavor. Certainly not something I've ever had, and this I hadn't heard of. Same, but from Thailand, and from the elephants. The elephants excrete it, and then it's roasted, so apparently coffee beans that have been digested are just peak. Then this references the top 5 countries where people drink coffee in the world, with Finland being the largest. Who would have guessed that? Finland, Norway, Iceland, Denmark, Netherlands. Those are not what I would have guessed. What would you have guessed? I would have thought Italy just comes to mind for me, but I guess that's a stereotype. Maybe South America. So I'll move on. Okay, this I like. Before we get onto the history, this is really cool. The coffee bean belt, which is related to the climate that you need to grow the beans. Things outside of this belt, the climate's not right. So the beans don't grow as well. They're not as fertile. Yes, because of the cold blue tut. These are the ideal temperature, and I think probably humidity as well, because these are pretty humid places, aren't they? So Ethiopia, obviously. Papua New Guinea, Brazil, Sumatra, Honduras, Peru, Guatemala, and Colombia. And what I find quite fascinating is reading about the different flavors that come from the beans, which is the same with single origin chocolate, because chocolate is grown in similar areas, and supposedly these single origin chocolates have different flavor profiles, just like these single origin coffees. We'll come back to this. Oh god, is this blurry for you or just me? So the history of coffee. Sorry, I got really sidetracked there. Okay, so started in Ethiopia, you can see here, and it's believed to have then spread to Yemen. So by the 16th century, so these dates are a little off. By the 16th century, it was in Ethiopia and Africa, Yemen, Iran, Egypt, Syria, and Turkey. Turkey's quite important. And then, by the 17th century, it had already made it to Europe. I think these dates are not right. I think whoever made this was confused about 16th century versus 1600s. So ignore the dates. So then it made it to Europe. 1645, the first European coffee house was in Venice. So originating mostly in Italy. Oh, the monster. I didn't even notice the monster out of context. If you were here for the cryptid stream out of context, you'd know that, yes, this is just another plesiosaur and it's real. And so then from, by 1651, there were coffee houses in London. And the world's very first coffee house was 1475 in Constantinople. People went there to drink coffee and to converse. So it was kind of the original, what does Starbucks call it, the third place or whatever. And they became known as schools of the wise. And they also referred to the drink as the wine of Araby, because the origin of the word kawa is believed to have maybe meant wine. Although it's disagreed about whether it meant wine or whether it meant just dark. So, it became a cultural staple across Europe. However, as you can see here, it was not able to be grown in Europe because it was too cold. So, in the 1600s, coffee came almost exclusively from Yemen and was strictly controlled so that it couldn't be grown elsewhere because they wanted to retain control because it was obviously a very lucrative trade. And having control over it gave them quite a deal of power. Yes, Con is correct. So then, and by the way, the port in Yemen where the beans often came from was the port of Mocha. So the origin of the word mocha, I don't think I'm saying it right, didn't actually mean coffee with chocolate. It just meant, like, coffee, it referred to the pot and the drink. So interesting. And the port, I mean, I'm an idiot. It referred to the port. But then, there was Baba Budan, who was a Muslim pilgrim. So he was a pilgrim, so he was in Mecca. He left Mecca to return to India in 1600, and he smuggled with him, I like to imagine this here as him, he smuggled with him some coffee beans, which I'm sure was very upsetting to those in the Arabia. So, his smuggling of the beans was what led to the start of the coffee industry outside of Africa and Arabia. So the Dutch tried to grow it in India, because as you know, the Dutch and the English, they had all their colonies where they tried to grow crops, such as tea as well. That's when tea was brought to India, was as a crop, because they wanted to get their hands on that. And so, they started trying to grow it in India, and their first very successful crop was in Java, Indonesia. I think you can see on the map. So, more in the Indonesia realm here is where it was more successful. Oops. Anyway. So, then the Dutch were like, alright, success, let's start growing it other places. So they started growing it all over Asia, within that coffee belt, and had a great deal of success all over. And then, next, so you can see Tralala, Ethiopia, Yemen, India, Java, and now moving to the Americas. So, for the Americas, so you can see up here as well. So in 1714, the mayor of Amsterdam, yes, Jack Tricks, that's where the word Java comes from. And it also is where the first blend was created. I believe it's called the Mocha Java. So it was the Yemeni beans and the Java beans, so the Mocha Java. So 1714, the mayor of Amsterdam gifted a coffee tree to King Louis XIV, who planted it in the Royal Botanical Garden of Paris. Then a naval officer obtained a seedling from this tree and brought it across the ocean and planted it in Martinique, which I am familiar with because of the game Sid Meier's Pirates, of course. And then this tree was the mommy tree to all coffee trees across the Americas and the Caribbean at the time. So it spread throughout the Caribbean and then to Central and South America, which are in the belt, of course. However, in America, the United States, tea continued to be preferred until the Boston Tea Party, of course, when they tossed all the tea in the harbor, and tea drinking became unpatriotic, so they switched over to coffee. And today, Brazil is the largest producer of coffee. Again, not my first guess. So you can see this pot here. And I was going to say something else. Oh, there was also a humorous story about an officer who came to get... I can't remember, but allegedly he kind of emotionally seduced this man's wife, and so she gave him a bouquet of coffee beans. Because they didn't want him to have the coffee beans and spread the trade, but she was attracted to him, so she did it. Yes, 1F. Coffee was often, throughout history, had points in time where different areas, it was controversial. And wasn't supposed to be drunk. But obviously it took over. Mostly because people were like, well, this shit's good. And it gives me energy. Alright. So, historical preparation of coffee. Here's some images of the Ethiopian coffee ceremony, which is where the beans are roasted over an open pan. You can see the pan here. Then they are finely ground by hand, I assume, and then cooked in a traditional kettle. Look at this beautiful kettle. And then they are typically poured into cups without handles, apparently. Some more images. See these cups with no handles? They look more like teacups. Or what I know as a teacup. Ah, yes, you see her mortar and pestles. Yes, Belden's Fire. Apparently, coffee was controversial, but then the Pope tried coffee and he said this is excellent. So there was a papal dispensation to allow coffee to be drunk. Good choice. Here's another one. She's roasting the beans. Here's her kettles, and here's her cups. Oh, yes, Matryoshka. I know that Mormons do not drink coffee or any form of caffeine, I believe, correct? What a shame for them. So, the original method of making coffee back in the day was steeping the coffee grounds in hot water for anywhere between 5 and 10 hours. So it was a very long process. I don't think it was very difficult, but it took a very long time. So then in Turkey they came up with a faster method, the Ibrik method. This is an Ibrik. I believe, obviously this is more of a modern one. So this is the name of the pot, as an Ibrik pot. They would take sugar, water, coffee, and spices, and mix them, and then heat them to boiling, and then cool them, and then heat it to boiling, and then cool it. And do it a few times, because that would create the froth. And then the drink would be poured into a cup, traditionally with that frothy foam on top. Which is interesting to me, because it seems that many ancient cultures, well, I suppose that's not ancient, but many cultures really liked froth in their drinks, because my understanding is that the ancient Mayans also liked their chocolate drink to be frothy. So, yes, on hot sand. That's what I thought redacted, but none of the things I read said that. But I could have sworn that I had seen that before. They boiled it on hot sand. That's what I thought redacted. Hot sand, not an open fire. I had seen an image of that, and I wanted, if you can, look up a video of them cooking the beans in the hot sand. It's really cool. But I didn't have time to find one, but it's really cool. So this is a more modern Ibrik, and this kind of was like the first revolution. Here's a much older one. I'd quite like to have one like this, but I believe this was several $1,000s, because it's, obviously, historical. Bean perhaps, but I think it was more just for the enjoyment. But that's a good question. That might be a more clever explanation. Yes, you can use the sand. The sand was used, the heat from the sand. So that's an Ibrik, and that was kind of the first more modern pot one. Then in the 17th century, coffee shops used pots that had spouts, and the spouts were, everything described them as sharp. The sharp spouts could filter some of the grounds out, and with these pots, they had a wide bottom for heat absorption, and they would just heat the water to boiling and pour it. So I think they would just do it the one time, no froth. Well, you're going to have to go to the right beach out of context. It's one with very hot sand, so maybe Costa Rica, because the sand there certainly felt like it was boiling temperature. And then, it's believed by historians, allegedly, that the very first coffee filter... Anyone has a guess for what the first thing used as a coffee filter was? What was the original coffee filter, allegedly? Ah, Hand of the Dead Man. Very good guess. So what I read... 1F, how? What kind of skin do you have that filters coffee? I'm starting to be concerned about you. So, not paper con, that's much more effective, or easier. So supposedly, it was a sock. And when they say sock, perhaps Hand of the Dead Man, they mean more like a garter or a stocking, but allegedly a sock. Hopefully there wouldn't be any lint in there. But, disgusting. However, this method was revolutionary because it filtered out all the grounds and gave you just the pure... Yes, I assume they mean stockings, Belden's Fire, not a sock. Not what I picture as a sock. I'm picturing a modern sock. I think they mean more like a stocking or a garter. So yes, first they used those. Disgusting, but revolutionary for the process. Yes, Bean, I imagine it was clean. Still. And then... they had biggin pots, which I believe this is a biggin pot, but I'm not certain. So they were basically very similar to the other pots, but they had a spot. So the biggin pots had a spot for a cloth filter to go in it. So then, instead of, like, pouring the coffee into the stocking, it would just be filtered as you pour, I assume. And then... oh, wait. In, so 1780, the biggin pots with the spot for the cloth filter. Then France, in the early 1800s, they had the metal filters and the first, French presses, eventually. Which, if you know, French presses have the part that you press down has a filter so that the grounds don't come out. Then there's the siphon method that sometimes you see in anime. That's usually where I see it, at least. Siphon pots, which are hourglass-shaped, with a heat source at the bottom, which builds pressure and forces the water through the siphon to mix with the coffee here. But it is a bit risky. The cat has found a toy. It is a bit risky because it can cause an explosion if it's not done properly and properly monitored. So be careful there if you use a siphon. I would assume the ones we have today are safer because of, you know, safety precautions built in, but who knows? Ooh. Then here, so the French press, so the drip brewer method was in the 19th century. So there was a lot brought around in the 1800s. The French press, the siphon pots, the drip brewer, instant coffee was apparently originally created in the 1800s, but then vastly improved by freeze drying method, which preserved more of the flavor in the 1960s. Tom, I would imagine they're a pain to wash. It doesn't seem like the best method to me. Then the first espresso machine was in 1901 by Luigi Bezzera. Thank you, Luigi. So, I don't know if this is what it looked like, but I would imagine it was something very complicated like this. Here's another older one, but this is more modern. This one's really... Some of them I thought, are these just steampunk, or are they legit? Oops. And then... in, Grand Heresiak, a modern boutique. Yeah, they could offer, they could let you pay for certain, like, they would like, if you'd like to upgrade to a fresh sock, if you'd like to upgrade to a pair of tights, and you can pay for the upgrade, and what kind of sock you're getting used for your coffee. And then in 1908, the first paper coffee filter was created by Matita Benz, and I love this because it said, she created it because she was sick of cleaning her coffee cloth. Because they just used actual cloth. Which she was like, this is ridiculous. I have to wash it every time. So she created the paper filter. Very well done, Matita Benz. Miss Benz. So now let's take a look at some of the types of beans. So here's a roasting chart. I quite like this. Comment where you like your beans. I like my beans to be nice and dark. I don't know why dark is on here twice. I don't quite understand this chart. But in any case, I like my beans dark. What about the rest of you? I've heard, yes, I think light roast is disgusting. My mother likes that blonde roast they have at Starbucks. That's disgusting. It tastes like dirt water. Does anyone here like them burnt? Nice little burnt taste. Redacted, I believe less acidic is the darker roast. Is that correct? My understanding is that the lighter roasts are more acidic, I believe. Yes, Matryoshka, Starbucks. I never get brewed coffee at Starbucks anymore, drip coffee, because it tastes disgusting. It tastes like dirt water. It tastes like they're reusing the grounds. So then here are the 4 main types of coffee. There are other types, obviously. But Arabica, which I believe is the original kind, this, according to this chart, that's 75% of the world's production, and it has a smooth, sweet taste. And I think that's usually what I drink. Because I usually get an Italian espresso roast. Then the Robusta, 20% of world production, and has a bold, bitter taste. Personally doesn't sound very appealing. The Liberica, 2% of world production, and a smoky, earthy taste. Really not sounding appealing. And the Excelsa, 2% of world production and a tart, fruity taste. There's been times I've sampled a coffee that's supposed to have a fruity flavor profile, and I hate those. I don't like a fruit flavor profile in my coffee or in my chocolate. It's disgusting. Anyone ever tried the Liberica or the Excelsa? Obviously, they're much less common. My understanding is the Liberica, I think it was mostly grown in the Philippines, if I'm remembering correctly. Jack Tricks, I think you can eat just roasted coffee beans. I read that the Oromo people used to make coffee beans. I don't know if they were roasted or not, but they'd take coffee beans and make bowls of fat and in bean, and then just eat that for sustenance. Anyone here? Nobody's tasted the Liberica or the Excelsa? Look out for an opportunity to do so. See how it is. There's this one as well. Yes, this is a serious class. It's very serious and you'll be graded. Zonglismoras. Hello, Sandy. Ah, yes, I love chocolate-covered espresso beans, Tom. They're delicious. There's this coffee shop. Well, they used to always give me a couple on top of my drink. They don't seem to do it anymore, but I quite like them. So, the Robusta. Apparently cheaper. Arabica, the most common, and the kind I'm used to. The Liberica, here it says cupping Barako or instant coffee, and it's got the bold smoky flavor. Rare and mostly found in Indonesia or the Philippines. So, I wonder if that's what they serve at Teofilo in Southern California. That's a Filipino coffee shop. I would assume it's expensive due to it being rare. And then the Excelsa, found in Southeast Asia, and you can see Robusta has the highest caffeine, and Excelsa has the lowest caffeine. Found in Southeast Asia. I'd like to try both, but I'm thinking maybe I don't like it. Redacted, I don't know, but I would assume so. Because, yes, Copico's instant, right? So I guess so. I think I've had Copico. Here's another interesting chart. So as I said, I like mine dark. I wonder, can you even eat it raw? Is it consumable, or would it break your tooth? Or just come out whole in your excrement? So you can see, yes, I was right. So the lighter roasts have the higher acidity, And the darker roasts are lower acidity. It's interesting. I'm fascinated by the whole flavor profile thing. I think it would have been quite a good sommelier or a nose for perfume. I've heard noses only work a few hours because they have to preserve their nose, the scent. I would love to do it. Interesting, AK-chan. Are you in Indonesia or you visited it and you've never seen the Liberica bean? Very interesting. They must be quite uncommon. So it's interesting, the dark beans, the dark roast is shiny, which I have noticed when I open my fresh bag of my espresso roast whole beans, they're very shiny. And then I've noticed they get duller over time. And then it says, the dark ones have a more bitter, distinct aroma with little original characteristics. Quite interesting. Because I guess that means if I prefer little original characteristics, I must not like the true taste of coffee? AK-chan, you live in Indonesia. I'm very sad because there was an Indonesian restaurant near me that closed down. I only got to go there once and I quite liked it. Interesting, it must be very rare, if neither of you've ever seen it. We'll have to go on the hunt. And then interesting, dark roast has the shortest shelf life. Look here, they say medium is the Goldilocks. Oh, thanks for following on Twitch. Jean-Lis Morris. Hand of the Dead Man. The nut allergies. I'm confused. Coffee, is there an overlap between coffee and nut allergy? So redacted, those are Liberica. Is that true? I'm with you, redacted. I don't want the acidic kind. I am curious about the raw kind, though. And now, moving on to coffee around the world, how people like to consume it. So I did try to find some history of adding sugar and cream. I struggled a bit with that and ran out of time, but it seems to be pretty, to go back pretty far. I think in its origins, like in Turkey and Ethiopia, they didn't, but I think when it moved more out of that area and spread about the world is when the adding the milk in particular came about. Oh, I see a Hand of the Dead Man. What? I'm so sorry. That's awful. So you can see here in Turkey, finely ground coffee beans simmered in a special copper pot. This calls the pot a sezve, but I think it's the same as the ibrik. But perhaps not. Turk kahvesi. Café au lait, obviously, is steamed milk and strong brewed coffee in France. Farisea. No, that's not right. How would you pronounce that in German? Fariser? I'm terrible. Fariser? I don't know. Coffee, rum, and sugar, topped with whipped cream and chocolate shavings. Ah, interesting, redacted. I'm gonna get some capica then at the Filipino market. Mazagran, Portugal, consists of espresso and lemon juice or lemon soda. I have heard of this. Has anyone tried this? Anyone tried the Mazagran? That sounds unpleasant to me, but I'd still like to try it. Espresso and lemon flavor. I can't even imagine. I would think I wouldn't like it because I'm not fond of fruit with my coffee or the acidic taste, but who knows. Flat white. I've never had a flat white. I know Starbucks now serves one, but I'd rather try an actual Australian flat white, which apparently is the microfoam over a shot of espresso, and it is distinct from others like the latte or the cappuccino. And then unfortunately I don't know how to pronounce this Vietnamese drink. Can anyone write it phonetically for me? Café Trong. I'm sure that's wrong. But that's coffee traditionally prepared with egg yolks. I guess they like whip the yolks, and then sugar and condensed milk and Robusta coffee. I'm vegan, but I would give that a try if I was in Vietnam. Sorry, getting some water. Trunk, that's how it's pronounced. Con, oh, down. I can't do the tones, con. I wish. Fe. Trunk? Affogato. Anyone ever had an affogato? I love affogato. When I went to Italy, it's really not the same in the United States. Oh, cafe trong? It's not the same in the United States as in Italy. Because in Italy, it's genuine... See, this says vanilla ice cream. That's wrong. It's vanilla gelato. A scoop of genuine Italian vanilla gelato, and then they pour a shot of espresso over. And affogato means drowned. So they drown the gelato in a shot of espresso. It's delicious. It's so good. If you're ever in Italy, you have to try it. Oh, thank you, Matryoshka. Farizer. Thank you. I'm not familiar with that particular vowel blend. Let's see. Irish coffee. I haven't forgotten about your impression requests, by the way. I'll save those for the end. And I'll need a little break because I quite struggle to switch from the British to the impressions. So the Irish coffee. Coffee cocktail hybrid. I think we're all familiar with this probably. I've never actually had one, but it's always in, you know, TV. Hot coffee, Irish whiskey, and sugar topped with a thick cream. I think that would knock me right out. Because I got a mule the other day. A Moscow mule. A peach one. And only a few sips and I felt kind of dizzy, so... Café Ost is in Sweden. Hot coffee poured over chunks of Justolepa cheese curds. I read about this one. Apparently they put the cheese in the coffee. I'm very curious about this. Anyone ever had this? What kind of cheese is it? I don't know much about Swedish cheese. I'm quite interested. Certainly wouldn't have thought to put coffee and cheese together, but it seems around the world they've combined coffee with just about everything, including poop. Café Bonbon is Spain, intensely thick and sugary. An equal amount of condensed milk is stirred into black coffee. That sounds quite good to me. I'd like to try that. Then the Yun Yung from Hong Kong, made from a mixture between coffee and tea. I've never tried coffee and tea. I've had a dirty chai. Once, I think. But I think I'd like that. Sounds pretty regular. Yes, Matryoshka, I'm with you. Some of these I would try once. Like, I'd try the Mazagran once. I'd try the Café Ost once. But I suspect that would be the only time. And then the Kopi Luwak consists of the partially digested coffee cherries from the Asian palm civet. I'd quite like to try that. I think you can buy it online. Here's another one. This is the most popular drink in every country. Although in USA it says espresso, but I don't think that's right. Espresso-based drinks are the most popular, but we don't just drink them as espresso. They're usually made into latte. So I'm a little confused. Has anyone ever seen anyone drink straight espresso? Very rare. Redacted, I mean, Americano's not really a kind of coffee, is it? It's just espresso with water. It's just watered down coffee. So, yes, you can see espresso, but I would say espresso-based drinks is more accurate. And then let's see, cappuccino. I love cappuccino. I like it on the drier side, I believe, is what I like. Oh, interesting. The Irish coffee is most popular in Sweden and Finland. Turkish coffee. I do like Turkish coffee. I like it with the spices. Supposedly iced coffee in the Philippines. I usually do drink iced coffee, almost always. But I'm not in the Philippines. That was confusing what I just said. My understanding is that in Greece, the frappe is the most popular, but I don't... Anyone see Greece on here? Cyprus. I don't see Greece. Ah, Greece. It says espresso. This is idiotic. That's very unhelpful. I love images like this. Someday when I buy a house, I want a poster like this. A very nice one. Everyone comment, if you drink coffee, where on this chart do you like it? I like cappuccino because I like a bit of foam. But then, I used to get latte, but latte's too much milk for me. I like it with a bit more foam. I'm not sure this is quite accurate, though. Because a cappuccino is supposed to be 1/3, 1/3, 1/3. Macchiato is a bit dark for me. A ristretto is a stronger, a higher concentrate, whereas a lungo is a lower concentrate. Yes, I like it somewhere between not too milky, a bit more foam. I think I'd like a breve, but I've never had one. A triple shot with what, redacted? With something else, right? Not just a triple shot of espresso. A mocha's good. But it's got to have really good chocolate. Not like a cheap... Not a Hershey's syrup. Why is mocha latte on here twice? So's cafe latte. Oh, it repeats itself. Well, how obnoxious. Which coffee goes with whiskey? Well, wouldn't that be the Irish? That feather, the Irish coffee. My god, Trilith. You and Redacted, just a triple shot of espresso. Please tell me, why am I doing that face? Did you have anything in it? Con panna, at least. And then there's another one here. Iced coffee, most popular iced coffee around the world. USA is an iced vanilla latte. That's never what I get. And then let's see if it has grease on here. Frappe, frappe, frappe. I'm curious about this Spanish latte. Anyone know what that is? I'm not a big fan of cold brew. It just tastes like cold, watery coffee to me. What's everyone else think of cold brew? Dove Feather, I've actually Googled that before, but I don't remember. My god, Dirt Feather, that's definitely above the recommended caffeine. Not good for your heart. Anyone ever had this Spanish latte? I'm not sure what it is. I'm going to Google it on my phone. Give me a moment. And what's the difference between a frappuccino and a frappe? I didn't think there was a difference. I thought they were the same thing. Spanish latte is cafe con... Sorry, I'm trying to speak Spanish, but with the British accent. Cafe con leche. So it's an iced cafe con leche, is my understanding. Espresso milk and sweetened condensed milk. That's good. So it's got sweetened condensed milk. Delicious. And whole milk. So it's quite rich. Probably would give me diarrhea, but I'd enjoy it in the moment. Now let's see. Is there a difference between a frappuccino and a frappe? I really thought they were the same. Let's find out. They differ... Well, according to the AI results... Let's see. Let's look for a non-AI result. Here's, Outen, whatever. I don't need a history here. Okay, so frappe is a Greek iced coffee made by shaking instant coffee, sugar, and water until foamy, then adding ice and sometimes milk. And then a frappuccino is created by Starbucks. Interesting, I did not know that. Did anyone know that? I think in the United States, a frappe is just a frappuccino. Like if you go to a non-Starbucks cafe. So now I need to go to Greece, clearly, and try one. You know, it doesn't mention Dalgona coffee. Does everyone remember during the pandemic? During lockdown, everyone was making Dalgona coffee. I tried to make one once, but I was struggling with restrictive eating habits at the time, so I tried to make it all low fat and low sugar, and it was disgusting. And it didn't really work. So I need to try it again without being disordered. Alright, last one. I quite like this. Oh, wait. Where's the image with the Einspanner? Oh, well. So here's the Vietnamese one. Egg yolks, whipped egg yolks, slowly poured over hot espresso and sweetened with condensed milk. I can't imagine how that tastes. Redacted, I had the same problem. Well, yes, frappuccino is an invented word, Redacted, but so are all words. Oh, this didn't work. But it says... Well, it doesn't say anything. Here's the cheese one, look! Look at that cheese. What do you think it tastes like? I'm dying to try it. But Redacted, aren't you supposed to use instant coffee for dalgona? I really want to try this. Do you think the cheese absorbs the coffee? It says Sweden is an excellent destination for coffee enthusiasts, especially since Swedes have one of the highest levels of coffee consumption per capita in the world. Swedish people enjoy a practice called fika, is that right? Which refers to a coffee break where people gather and socialize over a drink and a bite to eat. Mexican coffee, café de olla. It's really hard to speak Spanish with this accent. The taste is unlike any other coffee in the world. Mexicans enjoy the traditional beverage, which is spiced coffee. I do like spiced coffee. And it's sweetened with piloncillo and spiced with cloves, star anise, and cinnamon. I think I'd quite like that. I love cloves. I love warming spices. Let's go back to Greece, because I didn't read. There's no image. But it says, Greece has an incredible coffee culture. Traditional Greek coffee is made with a strong brew using finely ground beans. The drink is unfiltered, so the grounds are at the bottom of the cup, and there's a nice layer of foam on top. There's a Greek restaurant I go to that has Greek coffee on the menu, but if you ask for it, they say they don't have it. So, it's a lie. Here's obviously the civet coffee, the cat coffee. Delicious. The civet cat, I guess it absorbs the cherries and doesn't eat the bean. Then Australia, the flat white. Delicious. Says they add fewer sweeteners and mostly go to locally owned shops instead of Starbucks, which is what I prefer as well. Starbucks drinks are so sweet. Last time I got one, it was disgusting. It tasted so sweet and artificial. If you're used to having it, it tastes good. But then if you don't have it for a while and you go back to it, it's awful. I think I'd like a flat white. 2 espresso shots with foam and steamed milk on top. Wait, Blue Tut, flat white, is that the nickname for your ex? Your ex? And then, of course, Italy. Birthplace of the cappuccino. Delicious. France, café au lait. Let's see. Café au lait differs from a latte because the ratio of coffee to milk isn't the same. A latte has a 2-to-1 ratio, while coffee au lait has a 1-to-1 ratio. That's quite rich. God, Matryoshka, I've heard of that, and I heard it makes people, excrete quite a bit. I've heard it goes right through you. The olive oil and the coffee give an extreme laxative effect. So, I'm good, thanks. That sounds disgusting. I know Starbucks. The other day I went to Starbucks. I got 2 drinks and a cake pop, and it was $16. 2 drinks. I got an iced white mocha, a soy iced latte, and a cake pop, and it was $16. Let's see, Costa Rica. Costa Rica. Beautiful paradise. Let's see, they do the pour-over method. Costa Ricans enjoy a traditional method of brewing coffee called chorreador. Consists of a sock-like bag that hangs on a wooden stand. Oh, here it is. And allows hot water to pour through a cup while filtering out the grounds. I love it. Very historical. I don't think I ever had that when I was in Costa Rica because I was in a rural village. I wasn't in a main city. So when I was in San Jose, I only had like Domino's Pizza or something. Turkish coffee. Who's had Turkish coffee? It's delicious. Yes, Trilith, the whole butter coffee, didn't they call it bullet coffee? It was very popular. I never did it. I didn't buy into it. I considered it, but rejected it, because that's disgusting. Turkish coffee, I like. Pot is placed on heat and brewed slowly. A layer of foam develops on the top. Served with a glass of water and a piece of Turkish delight. I went to this place in Chicago. Oh, it's called Aromo Cafe. It's quite good, and they do serve it to you with a glass of water and a piece of Turkish delight. It's delicious. I love Turkish delight. All right. So, before we move on, everyone comment their favorite way to order coffee. My favorite is a cappuccino, and if I'm being honest, it would be a cappuccino with real milk. Because the foam with real milk is just better. I mean, an oat milk cappuccino can be very good, but the real milk is better. But I get an oat milk one. You have to get it at a good cafe, though, like a legit cafe. Like high quality oat milk cappuccino, very good. You know what else is very good is Viennese coffees. They're quite good. Ooh, Sleepy, I do quite like a Vietnamese coffee as well. That's up there for me with the condensed milk. I tried to make some at home once with some vegan condensed milk, but it was disgusting. It wasn't because of the vegan condensed milk. It's actually fantastic. But the coffee and my method was the problem. I didn't have actual Vietnamese coffee, and I think that was problem number one. Yeah, my second choice would definitely be a Vietnamese coffee. Maybe I'll go get one tomorrow. All right. Continue telling me your favorite kind of coffee until 8:55, and then I will bid you adieu. And just, oh, I'm sorry for the confusion. I'm ending class at 8:55 and switching gears. Con, am I close to an Asian store? I am, yes. Right down the street. Which is why I love living here. That sounds fantastic out of context. Does she use like it's called like a fin, the coffee maker? Espresso frappe is absolutely a thing, Redacted. I would enjoy that dirt feather, but I mean, I think they don't paid very, very well and have very large classes, and I would enjoy the summers, though. All right, one more minute for British export. I would just enjoy making informative videos for the internet. I would need a partner who create cool animations for me, though. Like a channel. Dirt feather, I'm very afraid of that, yes. Probably gonna go southern first, and then next time I'll go British. Alright. British export leaving in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Alright. Here I am. Okay, let's see if I can... Okay, give me a few minutes and then I'll do the impressions. Gotta get myself fixed here. Voice. Gotta get myself sounding normal again. Let's vote on next week's subject, though. So, history of writing is still in there. Jack Trix, was that you that wanted history of writing, you and me? So, let's decide on our topic for next week. Oh my goodness, thank you, Out of Context. That was very nice of you. After everything you've been doing to help people, thank you so much. That's very generous of you. You must really like coffee. Thank you, out of context. Single. Thank you for keeping the channel going. That might be the biggest super chat ever. Except for, I think maybe you gave me another $100 one out of context. So out of context is number 1 and number 2. Thank you so much. You stay safe, out of context. No, you. I don't know why it's doing twitchy eyes. Okay, history of video games. We'll keep that on there. History of written language. I know Dirt Feathers really wanted tanks. History of history. Interesting one, F. History of independence. Independence of who? Chocolate. Well, Hand of the Dead Man, I was born at a very young age and have lived until present day. I was born at a young age and then grew. Neither of my parents was present for my birth. Alright, so we got written language. We'll put tanks in. I know that's been asked for a while by I see a couple. Okay, we'll do history of, we'll do tanks, written language. Let me see. Yes, Bean 175 got it. Let's see. Ooh, interesting. Doo-doo-doo-doo. Thanks, out of context. I might try editing some clips for the clip channel. Ooh, history of the first game console. Interesting. Okay, we'll put history of video games on there. Could include maybe like history of games in general. Like starting with like games. Okay, let me start getting we come up with one more. Okay. While we come up with the last one, let me get this sweet. Zephyr's request for sugar. Just add sugar. Well, hello! Quick chime, fetch the toffee one and give me Joe. Coffee, 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 coffee! I assume that was supposed to be like Batman. Anybody know which of these coffees had the most sugar? Get it right and win a free ride on Black Typhoon. Supervised, of course. Ooh, Bubbles! Really, this all you want me to say? Just Bubbles! Well, hello. I must not fear. Fear is the mind unaliver. Fear is the little death that brings total obliteration. I will face my fear. 1F. Oh, thanks for joining Hand of the Dead Man. See you next week. See you Sunday. I don't know, Dirt Feather. Just being cautious. Alright, how about domestic cats? It's really hard to choose. You guys have so many good suggestions. Okay. Written language, tanks, history of video games, domestic cats. Na 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 na. All right, poll is out. Batman. History of cats in tanks. Perfect. And then let's see. So I'll be back on Sunday, streaming on Sunday. And then usual schedule through Wednesday, but then I fly out of town again on Thursday. And we'll once again return on Sunday. Well, we'll talk about that when the time comes. Blue Top, maybe you need one of those jitterbug phones. Totally redacted. It's gotta be. The boulder has hard time to choose. And I'm here to remind you of the mess you left when you went away. Dear Feather's request. You kids don't know what coffee means to us grown-ups. We need it to function, to live. It's not fair. Armor. Oh, you mean tanks. To deny me the cross I bear that you get me. You. I don't know. All right, give you till 9:05 so far. Redacted is correct. Tanks is in the lead. I did not expect that. Did not. Panzer IV. Dirt Feather's request. Yeah, Daniel Nogueras, I've heard that. Like the caffeine withdrawal, right? It's not fair. AK-chan, I don't know what that is. Is that a game? Out of context, when I first got my espresso machine, I was drinking 4 lattes a day. Then I chilled out. Dirt Feather, why do you want to throw something at me? What did I do? Is it chocolate? Dollar bills? Girls und Panzer? Panzer? I don't know. Alright, so tanks crushed it. Really did not see that coming. Daniel, I don't get very hyped up by coffee. So a lot of people with like autism or ADHD don't seem to get energized by coffee, and I am one of those people. Yeah, sorry, Jack Tricks. Might have to do a private stream, just you and me on the written language. Not really. Oh boy, redacted. Alright, so... Gone. I'm gonna be gone. But I'll be back on Sunday. And then here through Wednesday. And then gone again. And back on Sunday again. But before I go, I'm gonna do a preview image. I'm gonna preview an image of the Monday video. That's a new series I'm cooking up involving Crown and her crew. Drum roll, ready? Can you hear this? I don't know if you can hear it. Ta-da! This is from the intro theme. Anybody got a guess as to what the topic of the show is? Thank you, out of context. And I'll Trilliff, I'll post it in the Discord and the Nikkei art channel. AK-chan, nope. Jack Tricks, nope. 9, yet, none, no, hindi, yet. I think I'm out of ways to say no. I can sign it, but you won't see it. Ah, all right. So, I will not see you guys for a bit, but I'll be back on Sunday. So come back Sunday, 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. We shall all be together again. There were no correct guesses, just FYI. Jack Tricks, I am headed to a secret land. It is it is, in the United States, nowhere fancy. I'll get this request before I go. I enjoyed so much. No! Don't go! Alright, everybody. Thanks, Matryoshka. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Out of Context. Majram. Oh my gosh, you guys. Out of Context, at it again. Out of Context just gifted 20 memberships. Anybody who's still here, please thank Out of Context, especially if you got a membership. Oil Daddy Tom. Thank you so much, Out of Context. Out of Context is just like a superhero this week. I guess you'd be like Bruce Wayne, right? Yeah, so you're saving people and keeping the channel going. Thanks, Out of Context. My hero. My hero. Thanks, Out of Context. You're a hero. Majram.